वागर्थाविव सम्पृक्तौ वागर्थ प्रतिपत्तये जगतः पितरौ वन्दे पार्वती परमेश्वरौ. With a deep sense of gratitude to ISS for giving me this opportunity, and pranams to all the scholars there, the erudite scholars, and the academic leaders present in this platform. I would like to present the views from Ayurveda. In fact, the Vyavaharika Satta is what I would actually be presenting, as the Paramarthika Satta is already being presented and will continue to be so in the other lectures today. Very basic aspects from the Roga Rogi Pariksha that Ayurveda actually puts across this as. In fact, when I saw this brochure, the first thing that came to my mind was we have everything regarding Pratyakṣa here, but Ayurveda looks at Pratyakṣa as a pramana, and how do we bring that here as the technology of all this is in Ayurveda, and as the Indian knowledge system where we actually use this aspect of pramana of Pratyakṣa, as he has already saved everything for us, saved the aprama, the pratibhasa, the branti, all that has been taken off, and only Pratyaksha pramana leading on to prama is what Ayurveda here considers, is what I would like to start off with. As we all know, this is an offshoot of Atharva Veda, though there are people from the Chaturdasha Vidyasthana, we look at it even from Rig Veda, but however, main evidence to us comes from Atharva Veda. The basic tenet of Ayurveda is that Yad Brahmande, Tat Pindande, man as an epitome of universe, made up of Panchamahabhuta. Everything that we study in this Shastra is basically from the Panchamahabhuta, is made up, believed to be made up of, is made up of Panchamahabhuta, whether it is the Ahara, the Aushadha, or the Indriya. Everything must have some common Tulya Yonitva, as we call, must have some common base, and that happens to be Panchamahabhuta. In fact, the three doshas, the biohumors we talk of, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, are also made up of Panchamahabhuta. And we also realize that it is from the avyakta to vyakta that the science actually progresses in everything, right from the aspect of the origin of the universe, tasmadva etasmadva atmanaha akasha sambhutaha. This is where Ayurveda has its own school of thought, that it uses all the darshanas, but uses it to the epistemology for the purpose that it is actually stating. And the purpose is swastasya swasthya rakshanam, aturasya roga prashamanam. So here we have to maintain the health of the healthy and to take away the disease. So for that, what are the pramanas we need, and how do we construct the darshanas, to what extent? So basically Nyaya Vaisheshika giving the basic format of it, Sankhya Yoga filling in the functionality, and Vedanta wherever relevant at the realm of moksha, etc., that he brings. In fact, the Samanya Vishesha Siddhanta that Ayurveda states is also from this aspect. Pravrittir dukkham nivrittir sukham iti yat jnanam utpadyate tat satya buddhi. So a reflection of the Samanya Vishesha Siddhanta. I would like to draw the attention here to the word swastha, which is explained as swasmin atmani ananda rupena tishtati iti swastha. So the highest level of philosophy is actually embedded in this word, and everything else we go on to talk about Pratyaksha from here as a pramana. This is the actual goal, the distance that we have to walk. So whatever we are doing, sharira madhyam kalu dharma sadhanam, so Pratyaksha from the Roga Rogi Pariksha. As I already mentioned, Prama is taken here, and the technology of Pratyaksha is used in Ayurveda. Sharirendriya Sattvatma Sanyogo Dhari Jivitam. A man is a conglomeration, is an union of body, mind, sense organ, soul. It is something very similar that we also find in the definition of Pratyaksha, where we say Atmendriya Manorthanam Sannikarshat Pravartate. The soul, the mind, the sense organs, and the body. We'll look at the body as the substratum for mind and sense organs and the soul, of course. So What does this actually mean? Pratyaksha is the aparoksha jnana, the immediate knowledge, which we also have in this term, vyakta. Yat chakshusham tat pratyaksham, said Charaka. Whatever is visible immediately, gained through the akshay, here is the indriya. Pratyaksham tu kalu tadyat swayam indriyair manasacha upalabhyate. I don't have to get into the details. Atmendriya manortanam sannikarshat pravartate vyakta. That which is manifest, expressed, made clear explicitly, that is vyakta. Tadatve, at that moment, in that state, condition, time. So, tat and atva. Atva, this is the tadatve, ya buddhihi, pratyaksham sa niruchyate. The classics give us the types of pratyaksha mainly to understand the differential diagnosis, etc. So the savikalpaka, vikalpa being the types, and nirvikalpaka with no type. When a patient walks in and I just have a first look, I know it is anemia, but I do not know the further details of which comes under the savikalpaka pratyaksha. So savikalpaka pratyaksha. In fact, just going back to the Atma Indriya, one word out here that I want to again stress on, because Sannikarsha is where we will actually be dealing with. This is the continuum that the body and the mind continuum is what actually the text tells us through and through. And the sentient soul and the insentient body must have, they belong to two different realms, but must have an interface. And that is where mind, in fact, I recollect what Vaibhavji Tripathi ji was mentioning. So all the different aspects of the brain, why, what, where, all that here, along with the antahkaranas, antakarana chatushtaya, all that can be brought in this context. So mind is an interlink between the inert body and the sentient soul through the intermediary faculties, which the mind is also one. So the mind that is actually a Chaitanya, and because of the permanent association with the soul, that is, we call it the Samanaska Atma, through and through. Therefore, according to Ayurveda, it's the soul which actually gets it, and all these serve as the instrument for the same. So with that, we would probably look into the direct anubhava that pratyaksha brings, the types, and coming on to the savikalpaka and the nirvikalpaka pratyaksha. We have here that the different kinds that are brought about, laukika and the alaukika. The laukika and the alaukika depend on the way in which the sense organs come in contact with their objects. So in laukika pratyaksha, analysis of the knowledge by the mind on the perceptual experience is limited. Whatever one sense perceives on the contact with their respective objects alone is there. But in alaukika pratyaksha, this primary knowledge will be elaborated. In fact, Madhusudan Penna ji dealt on that topic, interpreted and analyzed further. So laukika again is of abhyantara and bahya. So abhyantara is the manasa pratyaksha. It could be that eureka moment of Archimedes or Aryabhata. It can be the perception of love, happiness, desire, etc. So all that is actually put a poem that comes to our mind, that the answer for a problem that can come. So this is abhyantara. And the bahya is very, very gross one, related to the 5 sense organs that we have. Something that would interest us here is the concept of pancha panchaka that that the classics mentioned. They knew the difference between the adhisthana of the indriya and the indriya per se. The ears are fine, but the hearing could be impaired. So that way they looked at the indriya, which is the 5 sense, the eye, ear, nose, tongue, skin, etc. Panchendriya dravya, which was the 5 mahabhutas that were given. In fact, students usually used to ask us in college, why do we have only 5 mahabhutas? And the easiest answer we would give them was, there are 5 sense organs, so we can look at only 5 mahabhutas. Maybe there is a 6th which we don't know as humans. So Panchendriya dravya, Panchendriya adhisthana, the mechanical apparatus of the sense organ, and the Panchendriya artha, the objects of the sense organs, which the stuff that the objects indriyas perceive. And then the Panchendriya Buddhi, the 5 types of Buddhi, which spell out the understanding or the interpretation of perception, which needs a union between the object and the perceiving apparatus. It is then conveyed through the special senses to the soul through the means of mind. So this is the Panchendriya Buddhi that we are actually talking of. This is the Pancha Panchaka. Coming back to the Jnana Lakshana Pratyasatti, the Yogaja Pratyasatti, the Alaukika here would be Pratyasatti or Sannikarsha, either of the two that we use. It would be the common, the generality, principle of generality that we apply, that you see 1 or 2 grains of rice is cooked, so you know the whole thing is cooked. Or the Jnana Lakshana Pratyasatti, the knowledge obtained through the use of one sense organ, but the other is also got, like it's the grass looks soft. So though it is the Sparshanendriya which should actually be doing it, but you also know it, maybe because of Smriti, the earlier Anubhava, but you're able to get the knowledge of the second one also. And the very important is Yogaja Pratyaksha, which has already been dealt. They talk about 2 kinds of Pratyaksha here, 2 kinds of Yogaja, Yukta Jnana and Yunjana Jnana. Yukta Jnana is being established in that state of complete knowledge for the Trikala. Yunjana is the temporary, the fleeting knowledge which comes at those particular moments of Samadhi, probably. Ideas of Nadi, ideas of Prana Shakti, the 72,000 Nadis that we talk about, or the so many of the intangible things that we actually discuss, actually comes from this realm. In fact, I always was wondering, we would say the fetus gets its heartbeat from the 4th month is what Sushruta tells. Dvihridayantanarim dauhridanim achakshate. He says this is when it is actually manifest and you can hear. And today we know it, that is exactly when the fetal heart sounds are heard. I was wondering, if it is a dead one that he is dissecting, he can't get it. If it is a live one, how would he be able to hear it without the apparatus required? So when we look at all of these and many such examples that the Samhitas are full with, I think Yogaja Pratyasatti is where we get a lot of our knowledge. So it is intuition, different and beyond the normal experience, which is also given a lot of understanding. The other important one, as I said, Nirvikalpaka was taken not just to mention it, but he says, this jnanam is nirvikalpa. He goes on to give us clinical examples. Or savikalpa, when he talks about it, drishtva prameham maduram sapicham madhupamam dvivido vicharaha. Or he says, this could be of 2 types. Now look at what it is and then start the treatment. So savikalpaka, nirvikalpa, every bit of it having the practical application is what is important. Or we have the Sannikarsha, the Indriya and Vishya Sambandha Vyapara, and the 6 types that are actually mentioned as the contact between the patient and the physician, the eyes, when you look at him. Identifying the color of the eye and the patient, the color of the eye, Sanyukta Samavaya. Identifying the degree of yellowness that is present in the eye, Sanyukta Samaveta Samavaya Sannikarsha. Now, these 3 are usually for the Indriyas except the Shrotrendriya. Till here we apply to all the others, but when it comes to Samavaya Sannikarsha and Samaveta Samavaya, we clearly refer it only to the Shabda and Karana. And the Sannikarsha there, the quality Akasha and Shabda, and the quality of sound, whether it is Karkasha, Madhura, melodious, etc. As physicians, it becomes important that we realize the Visheshana, Visheshya, Abhava Sannikarsha, whether the presence or absence of a feature that we saw yesterday is there or not. So mainly used in the negation of it, jaundice not present or etc., that we write the swelling, whether it's decreased, whether it's there or not, edema present, absent. So it was there yesterday, not there. So in that way, it becomes important to us. And that's how we use this particular one. So the 5 Sannikarshas help us in visualizing the Bhava Padarthas. In fact, Charaka clearly tells us, Dvividameva Kalu Sarvam Satcha Asatcha. Tasya Chaturvida Pariksha. Pratyaksham, Anumanam, Upamanam, Yuktischeti. So here he brings in the 4 Pramanas where Pratyaksha becomes the basic for the other ones. So this is how we practically use this. Again, as they talk about all this, lot of ideas are given about the Indriyas, the Jnanendriya, how do they work, etc. That is all given in detail. The importance of Indriya, because it's only this through this that prana is manifest. The difference between an inert object and me is probably the Indriya. Indratma, Tasyalingam Indriyam, and talk about Karmendriya, Ubhayendriya Manas, mainly taken from the Sankhya Darshana here. So this is the classification of the Indriyas is dealt in detail mainly. The evolution of it can be taken from the Sankhya part, because the Ahankarita is for the production and the initial origination, the Sattvika and the Rajasika Ahankara coming out. But we recognize the Bhautikani cha Indriyani Ayurvede Varnyante. We look at the bhautikata for the maintenance and sustenance of the indriya, because the medicine or the food which nurtures it must also be panchabhautik. So we look at it as panchabhautik being a part of sharira. Indriya derives its nourishment from ahara, which is again panchabhautik. And sarvam dravyam panchabhautikam asmin arthe. They do not say it is not Brahman, it is not. Asmin arthe, in this text, in this context, it is only panchabhautik, is that what they are the sages are very clear about. And again, Tulya Yonitva of Indriyas, that we already mentioned. Prapyakarita Vichara is something very, very important. So he says, the text actually tells us the state of being in an activity or function that is accessible to the reach of the sense organs. Except eye, all the others, the Vishaya comes and hits the organ. When it is to the eye, it is the eyes which go reach the object and bring it back, is something very interesting to read from the commentators of Charaka. Again, though they have said Pratyaksha is the most important pramana, they started off with Pratyaksha. They realized the limitations of Pratyaksha taken from Sankhya Karika, but adopted slightly differently here in Charaka. Ati Sannikarsha, when the object is very close, one cannot see it. When the object is very far, we cannot see it. And look at the beauty, each one of it has been overcome today. And the avarana, when it is covered, again, all our scopes, the MRI scans, etc. Then abhibhava, then karana daurbalya. This is something very important. If the organs of jnanendriyas are not good enough, then you cannot have pratyaksha, is what he is trying to tell us here. Mano anavasthana, when one is not present at the time of observation of the object, or there is anxiety, fear, then even then it is not possible. Samana vihara, among the major number of objects, we may not be able to pick up one. Abhibhavat, there was already an example given. Again, sun and the stars. Ati saukshmat, when it is very minute, we may not be able to get it. The applied aspect in the Rogarogi Pariksha, we look at it from Rogamadav Pariksheta, Tatonantaram Aushadam, the direct observation of dosha dhatu and lakshanas. If all the diseases are manifest through their symptoms. If there is no symptom, he says it is not worth treating. This is one of the ideas we find in Ayurveda. In treating a silent disease, how important is it, is a question that is often taken. This forms the basis for our diagnosis. Lakshanam pratyaksha gamyam. The symptoms are what are available to us, and we look at pratyaksha through that. Darshana, sparshana, prashnaihi. These are the three means of understanding. We see the patient, we touch the patient, the pariksha, auscultation, etc., examination, and the history taking. They form the basis of it. And we have the Dashavida pariksha bhavas, Karana, Karana, Karya Yoni, all these, which give us the complete assessment of the situation in which the patient is there, looking at the dosha, the dhatu. All these again must be understood through Pratyaksha. They are understood through Pratyaksha. Ashtavida Pariksha. In fact, the Ashtavida Pariksha also, we have the Nadi, Mutra, Mala, Jikhva, again, all of it, Sparsha, Drik, Akriti, all of this come under Pratyaksha Pramana. The complexion, the pulse, gait, skin, Sharira Pariksha. It is used in therapy, observing the direct effect of medicines. Now, all this happens with the word, when we look at the word Siddhanta, we say सिद्धांतो नाम सह यः परीक्षकैः बहुविधं परीक्ष्य हेतुभिश्च साधयित्वा स्थाप्यते निर्णयः. Ayurveda is a siddhanta. And what are the hetus that we use to bring it here? Ata hetu nama upalabdhi karanam tat pratyaksham. So the means to get this siddhanta is through pratyaksha, is what he says here. And practical study, application of pratyaksha, the physiological, diagnostic, therapeutic research grounds. In fact, the Arishta Lakshanas, that is predicting when death is likely to happen. It could be Kalantara, over a period of time. It could be Sadhya, immediate. When is it going to happen? It could be in a week's time, in 10 days, in 15 days. That's the clarity with which one can mention that. And the Arishta Lakshanas are also Pratyaksha Gamya Bhavas. And then we have the Punarjanma Siddhi by Pratyaksha Pramana. I've just quoted some of the important ones there. Pratyaksha for Vaidya, Pratyaksha for Roga, and Pratyaksha for Rogi. We can understand it from all these aspects. So, Drishta Palatvat, Agamat cha. Important and interesting is that it is not that only Pratyaksha is mentioned. Pratyaksha is like, it's like air, you have everything. And all of this goes simultaneously, but understanding wise, we look at Pratyaksha Pramana and the resultant part of it as Drishta Palatva. Then we have Yat Jnatva. In the first chapter of Charaka Samhita, Maharshayah te dadrushuhu yat jnana chakshusha samanyancha visheshancha gunan dravyani karmacha. So in fact, we have the 4 kinds of chakshu that is mentioned: the jnana chakshu, dhyana chakshu, charma chakshu, and divya chakshu. So jnana chakshusha, this could be again the alaukika. So we have the jnana lakshana here. In the jnana chakshusha, he talks about the importance of pratyaksha in this aspect. Pratyaksha for Rogi, where he is able to observe the day-to-day changes that come, and he's able to, smriti comes in here, but vrishta smritanubhutanat smaranat smriti uchyate. So he should be able to recollect, he should be able to notice, observe immediately. So need healthy sense organs. The limitations are many. It is limited to present and manifest. Though we say Pratyaksha forms the basis, Pratyaksham alpam, Apratyaksham analpam asti. Cannot perceive the past, present, and future, for which Charaka comes up with a pramana called Yukti Pramana, where he says Trikala can be understood. Buddhif pashyati yah bhavan bahu karana yogajan. Yuktis trikala sadhneya trivargaha sadhyate yata. So past, present, and future being hidden, being deciphered, he says you can plan an action. So how do you go ahead with your methodology of treatment? There comes Yukti Pramana based on Pratyaksha. Of course, it is subject to illusion and error, but when it becomes Prama, we don't look at this. Otherwise, this is quite a possibility. So Pratyaksha is the foremost, as I mentioned, very, very essential in Roga Rogi Pariksha, in the diagnosis and in treatment. It complements Anumana. Pratyaksha Purvam Trividam Trikalam. Only based on Pratyaksha we go for Anumana. Based on Pratyaksha, Upamana is, the comparison comes in. Or even for Aptopadesha, we need this. Foundation of the Ayurvedic diagnostic science is Pratyaksham Pradhanam Pramanam, as he says. But again, I would like to end with what Acharya Shankara still said, which Ayurveda also agrees with, and it is from the Ekashloki. Sir? Yeah, understanding that ultimately we are the light of lights, where a student says, I realize that I am the light. And this is the idea put forth by Charaka and Sushruta. And for the grosser aspect and the diagnostic aspect, Pratyaksha Pramana is used thus, though this is the founding idea on which Ayurveda is built up with. With these words, I would like to thank the organizers and all of you for a patient hearing. Namaste.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sharma. So, seeing the time, we would not be able to take any question.